Good morning, everyone. It's Catherine from my hillside garden. I have a lot that I need to do. It's Memorial Day weekend, the beginning of, so I'll have plenty of time. I'm off all weekend this weekend to get the last of the gardening jobs for spring out of my way. And I wanted to bring you along for a garden update. I'm going to call it the last week in May, so that way you could see what's going on around the yard. It may be a little long, it may be a two-parter. Part of the reason why that happens is there's just so much that I want to tell you, because I've learned so many things from different people here on YouTube that I like to share that. And the other thing is, my internet speed is so slow. If I try to download too long of a video, it takes hours. So that's why I try to do it in two different clips. Notice these lovely beans by me. Part of the reason that I have them is because of the extra space that we'll have at the community garden this year that I didn't know I was going to have. So I have mostly yellow beans, two different types of yellow beans planted. I actually have two trays. And there's Cherokee wax yellow beans, top-notch yellow beans, and Jacob cattle, which will be dried beans. They're all bush beans, so I don't have to worry about staking them up over at the community garden. But the thing I wanted to point out, and I know it wasn't Terry's original idea, but I did watch it on Terry's channel, the Robotic Allotment Gardener. He chitted his beans ahead of time so that he would know which ones would grow for him. So while I don't have pictures of how I did it, I basically did it the way he did. I'll be sure to put a link in the description below so that if you wanted to take a look about that. But basically, you took your beans, you put them in a tray on a piece of paper toweling, wet them, and waited until they started to grow or chit before you planted them. I've had such bad germination with so many seeds this year that I thought I need a lot of green beans, yellow beans, the dried beans. I want to be sure that I get some. So I did that, and look at the wonderful germination I had. The whole tray. And I really credit it to chitting the beans first. Now, we've had so much rain. I've planted beans 3 different times out in the ground, and maybe 1 or 2 germinated. So I'm just putting that out, that I don't know if it was seed germination that was the issue. I think it was just the ground was so wet for so long that they just rotted in the ground. So I'm pleased to have these, and these will go down to the community garden this weekend. There's the other tray of beans. I can't tell you how tickled I am to have all those to put down in the community garden. And look, there are the peas. That's the first batch I planted in that container that the mice or chipmunks moved around for me. And there's the second batch. And here was my great find last weekend. I was visiting my cousin in upstate New York, and we went in the grocery store. And right at the front of the grocery store is their floral department. So when I went in, the gal was putting out fresh flowers, and she had all of these buckets in her hand. So I figured, I don't live here. What difference does it make if I ask? So I said to her, can I ask you a question? And she's like, yeah, sure. I says, what do you do with all those buckets? She says, well, some of them we use here in the display, but mostly we just throw them out. I said, really? And she said, why, would you like one? I said, oh, could I? And she gave me the whole stack. I could not believe it. I think there's 11 there. They're 10 inches around, and they're at least 12 inches deep. I have to drill holes in them, but this will add so much growing space for me, and that I didn't have to buy them. To buy containers that size in the big box garden stores, they're about $9 a piece. So that's a big savings for me. So I was just so tickled. So don't be afraid to ask. All they can do is say no, they don't do that. But look at the great gift I got. The woman really made my day. So as you can see, we still have flats of things that need to go out. Here's some of our herbs and onions. I have a whole tray of plants I'm sharing with a friend, more tomatoes to get out somewhere in the yard. And I did some propagating of coral bells because I just love them in the shaded area of the yard. They really can add a nice pop of color. So I went around and just took little cuttings from them. And what I'm hoping to do, see, there's several different colors. There's the caramel color, and there's like a burgundy color. Then there's this nice purple one. That one has stripes. There's a yellow one, and then there's a green one with red stripes. Very pretty. They're a little pricey in the store though, so I thought if I could do that myself, why not? But we have this problem area that I've done several different things to, and it never seems to look that good. And as you can see from Wyatt's running, he's ripped up the weed matting, and I did weed whack. So I think what I'm going to do as a project, an ongoing project this year, is I'm going to put in some coral bells if they propagate well, and some of my hostas. And if he runs through them, it doesn't matter, doesn't hurt anything. So here are my sunflowers for the Sunflower Challenge 2018 from Nick's Allotment Garden, NICKS. They're doing very well. I want them to get a little bit bigger just to be sure they're strong. These aren't my sunflowers. These are my squash. I'm sorry. Oh, my sunflowers are just below. Those squash are going to the community garden. Here are my sunflowers for the Sunflower Challenge. They're not doing too bad. I had a couple of failures once they were transplanted, and these are actually Russian mammoths, and they just have stunted. So I'm going to put that off to the weather. I really don't know what else to say. Our weather just has been so damp and cooler. Here's some more plants that need to go out into the garden. Excuse me. This year I've experimented with putting lettuce and onions into pots on the deck, so that way I could have spring onions. I've been doing them about every 2 weeks, and I've been planting dill in there and some basil and lettuces. Here's a tray of flowers. Those will go down the community garden when they get large enough. Just more of the containers on the deck. I've already harvested once from the gutter garden, the lettuce. Here are some more plants, marigolds, some cucumber, calendula, kale. I have lovely oregano. If you've never grown oregano in your garden, you really have to. It is just wonderful, fresh and dried. This is a mouse ears hosta. I was digging through for weeds over in the shade garden area, and I found it wasn't doing as well, and it had 3 babies. This one's still struggling along a little bit, and this one was just roots, and I've checked it. It's getting fresh roots, so I'm hoping that a hosta will come up out of that. But it's doing much better since I transplanted it, and that way, that's free plants for me. Okay, so let's take a little look around. Here are my mint. I bought those. They're in containers. Would never put them in the ground. I've dealt with mint before. I have some chamomile. Now, I did grow this last year. I had not grown it before last year, and I feel bad I didn't use any of it. So if anyone has suggestions on how do you harvest it and then use it in your teas, I'd love to hear have a comment. And I'm so proud. Look at my peas. I just can't believe I have a row of peas. And now the weather's going to get so warm, I probably won't get any. But as you can see, I don't remember if I showed you, we put chicken wire all the way around this deck garden because I didn't want to risk losing anything. There is the celery. It's a little bit slow in coming, but it's doing fine. And will you look at this? Those chipmunks have gone around and stolen bird seed from the bird feeder. I am finding clumps like that of what I believe to be sunflower. Some of them I end up just pulling up. I don't know what to do, but anyway, that's okay too. And there is my lone bean. I planted, I think, 18 Prevail green beans in there, rotted in the ground. There's all that lovely volunteer lettuce I have not harvested from here yet, but isn't that gorgeous? Free lettuce. Who could ask for more? So this is part one. I told you I had a lot to say, and it's going to be a little bit long, but I wanted to share with you how things are finally going in the garden. Please be sure to look for part two. This is part one of the last week in May.